You know, what if I told you that the biggest threat to your company's security isn't some shadowy hacker group? What if it's actually how your own team talks to each other? See, the biggest secret in modern security, it has almost nothing to do with technology. It's about something way more fundamental and a whole lot more human.
Just picture this for a second. Two different companies get hit with the exact same cyber threat. Now, over on the left, you've got the low trust organization, and it is pure chaos. We're talking panic, teams shutting down communication, and everyone just pointing fingers, trying to avoid the blame. But look at the company on the right. In the high trust environment, it's a completely different world. It's calm, it's coordinated, people are talking openly, and they're resilient together. So what's the big difference maker here?
It all comes down to trust. And trust isn't just some nice, fluffy, feel-good thing. It's literally the invisible infrastructure of your security. It's the foundation that decides whether your entire strategy holds up or just completely collapses when things get real. Because let's be honest, without trust, even the most expensive, cutting-edge technology is going to fail you.
Okay, so if trust is that important, what actually happens when it's gone? Let's dig into the very real, and believe me, very high cost of a low trust environment. This isn't just about bad morale. We're talking about an active, expensive vulnerability in your defenses.
Yeah, it's so important to get this straight. Low trust is not just a bad vibe or some abstract HR concept. It is a tangible, destructive force. It kicks off this vicious cycle of fear and concealment that actively works against every single security tool you've invested in. And here's exactly how that toxic cycle plays out. It always starts with a simple human mistake. Someone clicks a bad link. It happens. But in a blame culture, what's the first reaction? It isn't to report it. It's pure fear of getting punished. So it happens. The incident gets hidden. And that's where the real damage starts. Because that small, unreported mistake is left to grow, turning what could have been a minor issue into a full-blown, catastrophic breach. This kind of blame culture leads directly to this fascinating and frankly terrifying phenomenon called compliance theater. This is where employees are just going through the motions. They'll check the boxes on the security training, they'll follow the rules on paper, but they're totally disconnected from why it all matters. It looks secure from the outside, but it's really just a performance, and it creates this incredibly dangerous false sense of safety. So we've seen how damaging low trust can be. The big question is, what's the fix? Well, it takes a pretty fundamental shift in how we think, moving away from a tech-first approach to a human-centric one. And the framework for that is called the Relational Security Model. And the whole idea behind this model is captured perfectly in this quote from Emerging Risks Global. It says that people are your biggest threat, your most common vulnerability, and your most powerful defense, all at the same time. The goal isn't to engineer the human element out of the system. The goal is to harness it. This model gives us a super clear way to manage that human side of things, breaking it down into 4 key dimensions. First, there's awareness. Do people really get the risks? Then, behavior. Do they actually do the right thing when the pressure is on? Next is culture. Is security a shared value for everyone, or is it just another boring rulebook? And finally, do they have the capability, the actual skills and tools they need to respond the right way? You really need all 4 of these firing on all cylinders. All right, this all sounds great in theory, but how do you actually build this high-trust culture? This next part is the blueprint. We're going to lay out 5 practical pillars for turning your people from a potential liability into your absolute strongest security asset. So, building that trust really comes down to a few key principles. It's about being transparent with information, the good, the bad, and the ugly. It's about empowering your people, training them to be the first line of defense, not just mindless rule followers. And maybe most importantly, it's about creating a culture of care, where a mistake is treated as a chance to learn. Seriously, when someone reports that they messed up, they should be thanked, not punished. That right there is how you build real psychological safety. When you boil it all down, the takeaway here is actually pretty simple. For decades, we've been obsessed with securing our systems, our networks, our data. But what this human-centric approach teaches us is that real, lasting security isn't about the systems, it's about the people. And that really leads to a pretty fundamental question every single leader needs to be asking themselves. When you look at your budget, when you look at your strategy, your day-to-day work, are you just building taller firewalls, or are you actively, purposefully building trust? Because at the end of the day,
Trust isn't a soft skill. It's the hardest, most resilient asset you can possibly build. It's not just another layer of defense. It is, quite simply, the strongest encryption and the most powerful firewall you will ever have.